Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and this is Voice of the Global South.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
Now, Trump has partially kept his promise by getting Israel and Hamas to agree to a ceasefire. Now he has set his sights on resolving the 3-year-old Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Our efforts to secure a peace settlement between Russia and Ukraine are now hopefully underway. It's so important to get that done. That is an absolute killing field. It's time to end it.
If the Gaza ceasefire holds and all the hostages are freed and Trump comes good on his promise of ending the Ukraine war, will it make him worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize? From the Washington Post, CBS News and Tablet in the US to the Times of Israel, the Times of India and Sweden's Svenska Dagbladet, everyone's asking the same question. Will Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? CBS News reported that Trump spoke about how he deserves a Nobel when he hosted the late Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo's wife in December, soon after his election win. Trump recalled how Abe had nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2018 for holding peace talks with North Korea. The report quoted a Trump aide as saying that the Nobel has been a quote-unquote hyper-fixation for Trump. The Tablet magazine, in turn, published a report headlined, "Is Trump's Nobel Prize Waiting in Kyiv?" It read, "It is tempting to view Trump's efforts as nothing more than a vanity project, but it may also be that they offer the best or only hope of silencing the guns and preventing even worse outcomes. If that happens, he may well deserve a Nobel Prize." Alexander Mereshko, a Ukrainian lawmaker belonging to President Volodymyr Zelensky's party, nominated Trump for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize in November, soon after Trump won. Mereshko, who chairs the Ukrainian Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, wrote in his letter to the Norwegian Nobel Committee that Trump could help Ukraine achieve just, comprehensive and sustainable peace based on the UN Charter and principles of international law. Even President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus has said that he would support Trump's nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize if he can end world conflicts, as he has repeatedly promised in his speeches. Trump supporters believe that Trump has a good chance of winning the Nobel Peace Prize if, and it's a big if, the Israel-Hamas ceasefire holds, and if he succeeds in either resolving the Ukraine-Russia conflict or the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, or even getting Saudi Arabia and Israel to normalize their relations.
They're people, they're human beings. And I said, tell them we're going to do it, but you have to make peace. And we got them together, we made peace. And they actually nominated me for Nobel Peace Prize.
Now, Trump was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize on 4 occasions in the past, in 2018, 2020, 2021 and 2024. In 2018, he was nominated 3 times for holding peace talks with North Korea by Christian Tybring-Gjedde, a lawmaker from Norway, the then Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo, and 18 Republican lawmakers and governors from the US. In 2020, Christian Tybring-Gjedde again nominated Trump, but this time for his role in the signing of the Abraham Accords. A group of Australian law professors nominated him for the same, while a lawmaker from Sweden, Magnus Jacobson, nominated Trump that year for hosting the Serbia-Kosovo talks. In 2021, Finland's Laura Huhtasaari, a member of the far-right Finns party, nominated Trump. And in 2024, U.S. lawmaker Claudia Tenney nominated Trump for, again, the Abraham Accords.
They said it couldn't be done, but President Trump did it. The first Middle East peace agreement in decades. President Trump brought once bitter enemies, Israel, Bahrain, and the UAE, together to make peace.
I am grateful to you, President Trump, for your decisive leadership.
President Trump nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Leadership that makes the world safer.
Clearly, Trump supporters believe he richly deserves a Nobel, and the chorus is only growing louder by the day. But some disagree. In the past, several Nobel Committee members have made negative remarks about Trump. There always were murmurs of discontent, partly because of Trump's personality, his worldview, and the baggage that comes with it. Trump himself acknowledged the problem on a number of occasions. Trump has complained that he is not being considered more seriously for a Nobel, expressing bitterness that a former U.S. President Barack Obama was awarded the prestigious honor in 2009.
If I were named Obama, I would have had the Nobel Prize given in 10 seconds. He got the Nobel Prize. He didn't even know what the hell he got it for. Remember, he got elected. Well, so did I. He got elected, and they announced he was getting the Nobel Prize. Remember, he said, "Oh, what did I do?" He didn't know what the hell he did. He got the Nobel Prize for doing nothing.
You know, Obama came into office, they gave him the Nobel Prize like almost immediately, right? In fact, he didn't even know why he got it. He didn't even know. He had no idea why he got it, and he was right about that, because nobody else does either. They still don't know.
You see, Trump was not entirely wrong. In 2015, Geir Lundestad, the director of the Norwegian Nobel Institute, wrote in his memoir titled Secretary of Peace that he regretted giving the prize to Obama. He says awarding the Nobel Peace Prize to Obama in 2009 failed to achieve what the committee hoped it would. In fact, Lundestad has often been quoted as saying, "The Nobel is not a prize for saints." So the process and methodology of awarding the Nobel Peace Prize is not perfect. For instance, many in India fail to understand how and why the Nobel Peace Prize eluded Mahatma Gandhi. In more recent times, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken about how the 2015 land boundary agreement signed by India and Bangladesh was deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize.
यही घटना दुनिया के किसी पूरे भूभाग में होता तो विश्व में बड़ी चर्चा हो जाती, पता नहीं नोबेल प्राइज देने के लिए रास्ते खोले जाते।
Christian Tybring-Gede, who nominated Trump twice in 2018 and 2020, concedes that there is little doubt that Trump often comes across as boorish and arrogant. But he says that whether or not you like Trump's personality is not important in this context. Donald Trump is a worthy recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, he says. And Aaron David Miller, a former U.S. diplomat and negotiator in several Democratic and Republican administrations, couldn't agree more. Miller says the aversion to giving him the Nobel on the Democratic side is caught up in the aversion to him.
Make a peace. You have to make peace. We made peace. Make a peace.
As for Trump himself, he insists that it's not personality that should decide whether someone wins the prize, but what the person has really accomplished to make peace in the world. He famously said, "I would get a Nobel Prize for a lot of things if they give it out fairly," which they don't. In the past, several people, including former South Korean President Moon Jae-in and the late U.S. President Jimmy Carter, have suggested that Trump could deserve a Nobel. I leave you with what Trump said in his inaugural address, for which he received a standing ovation.
We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
Will Trump live up to his promise? If he does, will he then get a Nobel? And if he does not, will it only confirm the suspicion that there is an inherent bias in the awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize? In the next report, Ragini Sudhir Chaure takes a deep dive into a new great game being played in a tiny sliver of land that's located in the heart of Asia, bordering 5 countries. Here's everything you need to know about the Wakhan corridor and its geopolitical significance.
In the heart of Asia lies a remote stretch of land so narrow and isolated, it's often referred to as Afghanistan's chicken neck. This is the Wakhan corridor, a thin sliver of earth that has quietly been at the center of the world's longest-running geopolitical rivalries. Just 13 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, this strategic corridor links Afghanistan to China's far western Xinjiang region, while separating Tajikistan to the north from Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and India's Ladakh to the south. Though it's sparsely populated, with just 15,000 people scattered across a 350-kilometer stretch, the Wakhan corridor has become an increasingly coveted piece of land. And today, it's attracting the attention of none other than China as the world's rising superpower seeks to expand its influence in the region. On 8th January 2025, 3 high-ranking Chinese military officers made an unusual visit to the Wakhan corridor, accompanied by Taliban militia. It marked another chapter in an intensifying relationship between Beijing and the Taliban. The Chinese delegation stayed for several days, a clear sign that China's interest in the corridor is far from just symbolic. As China seeks to extend its global reach, its growing influence over the Taliban and the region's strategic assets could reshape the balance of power in Asia. The Wakhan corridor may appear remote, but for China, it holds immense importance, both economically and militarily. Despite its relatively quiet and untouched landscape, the Wakhan corridor is the key to a much larger ambition, the revitalization of the ancient Silk Road, a network of trade routes that once connected China to Europe. And now, China's Belt and Road Initiative is eyeing this very corridor as the next vital link. For centuries, this strip of land was a lifeline for trade between Central Asia, South Asia, and China. In the 4th century BCE, Alexander the Great passed through this very region on his journey to South Asia. Centuries later, Marco Polo would traverse these same mountains on his way to China. But it was the imperial powers of the 19th century that truly gave birth to the modern configuration of the Wakhan corridor, as the British Empire and the Tsarist Russia wailed for control over Central Asia. In what became known as the Great Game, the Wakhan corridor was carved out as a buffer zone, meant to separate British India from the Russian Empire. And while it's been more or less a remote backwater since then, the corridor's strategic importance has only grown. In 1873, the border between the British and the Russian Empire was formalized along the Panj and Pamir rivers, creating the land we now call the Wakhan corridor. Then, in 1893, the Durand Line Agreement set the boundary between Afghanistan and British India, effectively sealing the corridor's role as a geopolitical buffer zone. The Soviet Union too would lay claim to this region during its 1979 invasion of Afghanistan. The corridor, though remote, was crucial in their efforts to maintain control over Afghanistan's northern border. And despite its isolation, the Wakhan corridor remained a relatively calm region during the Afghan civil war of the 1990s and the following decades of Taliban insurgency. Today, with the Taliban once again in power, the Wakhan corridor has come under their effective control. And while many may have dismissed it as a forgotten region, China sees it as a new front in the race for regional dominance. In 2023, following the Taliban's takeover, the Taliban's acting foreign minister Amir Khan Muttaqi met with Chinese officials in Tibet, discussing opening up the Wakhan corridor for trade between the two nations. And within weeks, the Taliban made an official announcement. Afghanistan would join China's Belt and Road Initiative with a new road linking Afghanistan to China through the Wakhan corridor. By April 2024, plans were already underway for road construction in the corridor, and in August 2024, Chinese diplomats and Taliban officials toured the area to inspect the roadwork that could one day become a key link between Central Asia and China. This isn't just about trade. China has its eyes on security. The Wakhan corridor's strategic location makes it a critical point for Beijing to monitor the flow of narcotics coming out of Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, as well as the movement of Islamist radicals into China's Xinjiang region, where Beijing has been battling a separatist insurgency for years. In recent years, China has even expanded its military presence in the region. In 2011, China secured land from Tajikistan near the Wakhan corridor, and by 2016, reports revealed that China was considering establishing a permanent military base in the area, further cementing its growing influence. And while China moves forward with its plans, Pakistan too is eyeing the Wakhan corridor. On 30th December 2024, Pakistan's intelligence chief, Lieutenant General Asim Malik, made an unannounced visit to Tajikistan. Though unconfirmed, many speculated that this could signal Pakistan's desire to secure access to the Wakhan corridor, potentially opening a direct trade route to Central Asia and bypassing the troubled relationship with Afghanistan. But the road to controlling the Wakhan corridor isn't easy. This land may be strategically vital, but it's also incredibly difficult to govern. With China, Pakistan and Taliban all vying for influence, the region is becoming a new front in what some are calling 21st century's great game.
In the grand scheme of things, the Wakhan corridor is more than just a thin strip of land. It's a key to unlock new trade routes, securing one's borders and asserting one's dominance in one of the world's most volatile regions. As China, Pakistan and the Taliban jockey for control, the outcome of this struggle will reverberate throughout Asia and beyond. While China has not made any military move yet, the 21st century great game for the Wakhan corridor has already begun. Ragini Sudhir Chore for DD India.
The Philippines says it has arrested a Chinese sleeper agent who was allegedly spying on Philippine military facilities. Now, a sleeper agent is someone who infiltrates a country and goes dormant for a period of time. A sleeper agent is the same as a sleeper cell. They are often used for espionage, sabotage and assassination. The Chinese spy, identified as one Deng Yuan-chin, was arrested on 17th January from Makati City, which is a part of the Manila capital region. Deng was presented before media on the 20th of January. He was a part of a group that was being tracked by the Philippines Army for months. So who is Deng Yuan-chin? He's described as a 39-year-old Chinese software engineer, a specialist in control or automation engineering. He is a graduate of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, University of Science and Technology, which has renamed in 2017 as the Army Engineering University. Is located in the city of Nanjing in China's eastern province of Jiangsu. Deng allegedly possessed sophisticated equipment that are believed to have been used for spying on military installations. Deng, along with two Philippine accomplices, is reported to have surveilled military bases and police camps. Some locations visited by Deng and his group included sites where U.S. forces have been granted access under a military agreement. Deng's group had managed to visit certain sites that fall under the Philippines' Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the U.S. Deng and his group were also found surveilling other locations such as airports, seaports, power facilities and shopping malls. Philippines' cybercrime chief Jeremy Lotok said Deng had been living in the Philippines for at least 5 years. The agency said in a statement on 22nd January that Deng had been traveling in and out of the country since 2015. Among the items seized from him and his accomplices were espionage equipment mounted on Deng's vehicle, which authorities believe was used to collect sensitive data from military facilities. They found an application on Deng's equipment for remotely accessing devices over the internet. He could siphon off data without going inside the facilities and without getting hold of the targeted devices. The cybercrime chief said equipment seized from Deng is capable of producing coordinates that can be used for controlling a drone and identifying topography and terrain. It's possible that some of this information has already been transmitted to China. The official said that Deng's group included hardware engineers and a financier who were still at large. The group received funding of 1.5 million pesos, that is about $26,000 a week via shell companies. The Philippines claims that this wasn't an amateur operation. The level of sophistication in the equipment and the strategic nature of the locations Deng visited pointed to a deliberate, calculated effort. The Philippines' Armed Forces Chief General Romeo Brawner confirmed that some of the sites targeted were the joint Philippines-US facilities, raising further concerns over foreign interference in the country's defense capabilities. General Brawner said it was the second arrest of a suspected Chinese spy since last year. Forensic analysis of equipment seized in the earlier arrest had also revealed images of military and police camps in Manila. The Philippines police said that they recovered a suspected Chinese submarine drone in the waters of central Philippines. General Brawner said authorities were investigating whether all three cases were linked. China's embassy in Manila said in a statement on 23rd January that it hoped the Philippines would stop shadow chasing, stop peddling the so-called Chinese spy. A spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs in turn said in Beijing the same day that the Philippines should protect the lawful rights and interests of Chinese nationals. Tensions between the Philippines and China have been escalating of late, particularly in the West Philippine Sea, where both nations have overlapping territorial claims. Just last month, the Philippines' Coast Guard reported confrontations with Chinese vessels in Manila's exclusive economic zone, further straining diplomatic relations. Analysts believe that such espionage cases will continue alongside other China-led cyber and disinformation campaigns. Chester Cabalza, who teaches in the Department of Anthropology at the University of the Philippines, told ANC Digital News that the Philippines should have a robust national ID system to counter such activities. Now, Deng's arrest raises questions about national security and foreign interference. It'd be interesting to watch how the Philippines responds to the latest provocation. What will be Manila's next move? That's the question. And with that, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.